Hello, everyone. We are back with a whole nother episode, and we got some bad news to really share with you guys. So I want you to really just sit into the mic, really just or in your headphones, really just closely, just listen to this. Um, we still don't have student loan forgiveness. Still to this day, we don't have student loan forgiveness,
Wait, what?
even though
Joe Joe Biden
even
sucks.
though he
What?
campaigned. Yeah, well, I want to be. I don't want to jump on the whole Biden sucks train, but I do feel that way. But look, that's my feelings. But we have a theory that we'll get to later on, or I have a theory that I have thrown out into the ether, and we're going to see exactly if that theory actually holds true as to why he hasn't actually provided us with student loan forgiveness. There was an article that was actually brought up about how student loan forgiveness could lure nearly half of Americans into key battleground states to vote in November. So, is this a headliner for a potential strategy that we've been speculating about? Basically, playing politics. I don't know, Quentin. What do you take about this?
Well, my only take would be if I have to go through history, no, they won't. They will squander this opportunity like they've done since I don't know how long now. Like, it makes too much sense for them to do it. It's like, wait, we could do this and win. What else you got? I'm serious. It's like how that's kind of how Dibs do it now. It's like you gotta. I guess we're just used to losing. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, most definitely. We're so accustomed to losing now at this point. And still to this day, since his town hall, I think it was on CNN quite some time ago, there was a key point that this article points out about his $10,000 being canceled as a campaign promise for Biden. The article from the Insider doesn't actually point out a question that I've been wondering since that CNN town hall. That why in particular is $10,000 the most that you can cancel, which nobody has gotten the answer from the Biden administration. I don't even know if any reporters have even fucking asked them that damn question.
No, because it's a weird figure. It's like, oh yeah, I can't. Yeah, 10,000. Yeah, let's do that. It's like, why? Why 10? Why not 5? Why not 100? Well,
wait. How about to say you negotiating down? Hold on, bro.
But I mean, okay, even though I'm very against this, how about progressive version? Hey, if you make 200 some thousand, man, okay, then we'll give you, this percentage, and it moves on down. Like, I'm not a fan of that, but that's still better than saying, oh yeah, 10 flat. I got other things to do. I gotta go tell more stories of corn pop or something. I don't know. It's like, it's weird.
Yeah, man. You know what? And let's not talk any more legal and suspense, man. Let's get to the nitty gritty of what the Insider says. So here, as it goes, respondents were polled on how likely they would be to vote in the November general election should Biden implement a range of policy measures related to the student debt, and it found that 45% of them would be somewhat or more likely to vote if Biden cancels $10,000 in student loan debt. For every federal borrower, that shit just doesn't come out of my mouth good enough, which he pledged to do on the campaign trail. All right, so the thing that I brought up earlier, which is a speculation that I had in my head for a little while before this article. For a while, for many people in progressive circles and even in some YouTube channels, Twitter, constantly was wondering, why is he taking so long in doing this, especially when I don't remember the name of the process. He asked for the education department to do a formal review on the possibility of doing it. And
he wanted to know the legalities of him being able to do a full, what is his, legal position to be able to actually cancel student loan debt.
Yes. And he had quite some time ago had gotten the results of the review or discovering of the legality of it, but it was never disclosed as to what those findings were.
Nope.
Now I do remember that Jen Psaki had spoke on this when they extended the the hold on student loans, that they will have something planned actually before the student loans repayments take place all over again. They so say they have something planned. I don't know necessarily what that actually means because she didn't actually explain what they actually meant, what she meant by that.
Oh, we'll just have a new payment process for you. We're going to give income-based pay. Wait, we got that already? That didn't work either? Crap. Okay, we'll do payments on if you work in the public sector. What? Public sector don't pay a lot of people? Damn it. I don't know.
Well, this time we'll just do, instead of doing 6% or whatever the fuck it is, we'll do 0% or 0.1% or some bullshit, whatever the fuck.
All right, here's our plan. Join the military.
Man, hell the fuck nah. I ain't doing that shit. But my speculation for quite some time was that this was really more of a political ploy by him. Because if you really think about it, like, what bills has he actually gotten passed? I mean, what, the infrastructure bill, COVID relief?
Well, we need to stop calling it the infrastructure bill. It needs to be just the what? What's the name of those damn things? Pay to play bill. Toll road bill, because that's literally all it is. Yeah, we'll get, which is still kind of funny because when he signed that, he went to Pittsburgh to try to talk it up. A literal bridge fell, and it's like, that's hilarious. You can't write better comedy than that.
Now, to be fair to him, there is some funding within the bill that actually is devoted to internet access. So I'll give him some slight credit where it is. See, look, we're not Biden haters. Well, we are.
We are, because are you really going to feel that? Does that really change your material conditions? Say, oh, I got internet towers, but damn, I can't pay my internet bill because I ain't got no money, B. So I'm just saying. So it's like even with we build better roads, but now you got to pay to be on them. We ain't got no money though. So how's it work?
Yeah, man. So I mean, outside of the infrastructure bill and COVID relief and one check, really, what else do you remember about him?
He signed some executive orders to undo what DT did, and that's kind of it. Like, other than that, he's just been going back and forth with, President Manchin and, I guess Vice Chair Sinema. That's pretty much been it.
And I don't know I don't remember exactly how he phrased it. He said she's smart as a whip or something. It's like, oh, here we go.
Like it's like, oh yeah, as they're just derailing everything. Sure, have fun.
But I think I thought for some time that the reason why he just like kept kicking this down the road is that with all these bills, and by all these bills I mean very few of them, and a few random executive orders here and there, a few tweaks, and he has done pretty well when it comes to foreign policy. We're not in a war.
I give him that.
Up to this point, yes, up to this point,
yeah, as of right now.
But to the same degree that all of that is true, even more so what is actually true is he had plenty of opportunities to actually visibly try to actually pass legislation such as the Build Back Better, which goes back to this article right here. So in our private conversations that we had, we discussed that this kind of looks a little bit could come off a little bit insidious, that you're basically playing politics with people. Oh no, I'm not able to get anything passed. Oh my God. Well, shit. Oh, let me put this shit in my back pocket just in case, just in case some shit happen. Which, in one sense, I would say that that's actually kind of a genius move, actually, to put out there. Hey, you remember about 100% all that shit that I promised you guys on the campaign trail? Well, I couldn't get none of that shit done, but here's one little thing that I can get done. Look, I think him getting some progress done is actually perfectly fine. At least he fulfilled that campaign promise.
Yes.
If that does come to pass.
Yeah, if it comes up, that'll be the thing. Like, if he really wants to win, or not even really win, if he wants to give Dems to talk about anything is, hey, let's decriminalize marijuana. Let's go ahead and just eradicate student loans. Matter of fact, let's do a full political project on revitalizing our school system in general. I mean, I don't know what else can he do via executive order.
There were several articles that actually pointed out that under pandemic circumstances, he could have actually expanded healthcare to actually effectively create a Medicare for all like system under pandemic circumstances.
Oh, a beta plan. Hey, let's do it. I mean, we're still technically in it, right? We declared it's no longer a thing. Just because people forgot no longer talk about it, that means it's not a thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I mean, and he also has done some executive orders on government contracts. Contractors have to implement $15 an hour as their minimum wage. Not necessarily in the sense to where he's directly dictating to them, like, hey, you have to have $15 an hour. We will only accept contracts from people whose starting pay is $15 an hour. It's basically a roundabout way of how to actually do these things. So to be fair to him. Now, the insidious part that I wanted to point out, even though it's actually kind of genius, is that in one sense, this can be looked at as a political move to shore up the Democrats in time for the upcoming elections, which is, okay, genius, but kind of fucked up. But the thing that's a little insidious about it is that this can also be kind of a ploy of such a strategic way of not only Democrats maintaining power, but to increase campaign donations. So basically for us to go back into this whole seesaw battle all over again. Oh, I don't know. Man. I don't know, man. I mean, I know we didn't give you everything you want. I mean, we gave you maybe 10% of what you wanted, but think about those damn Republicans. Yeah. Think about them over there.
Yeah, they wouldn't have given you anything. They probably would have added more money to your student debts. They would have increased the interest rates. Remember? Vote for us.
Yeah.
So,
but even further along the speculation, another thing that I didn't actually bring up, this could maybe unintentionally or maybe intentionally be used as a crux. So this could actually be his get out of jail free card. Hey, I didn't get you everything you wanted, but I got you this. See? Oh look, yeah. The voters showed up to the general elections. Ah, shit. Well, my hands are completely clean now.
Oh yeah,
we did something, and now we can just.
And he gonna be a lame duck the rest of the next 2 years. Be like, hey man, I got student loan canceled. It's like, yeah, but what else do we have to do? Oh, you want me to do more work? Yes, dude. Yes, I'm sorry. But that's kind of how it's been so far because. So I talk to you about this all the time, and we have really basically been we've defamed politics to actually do stuff. I guess to do stuff is wrong, and we can't let people understand that the government can intervene in any kind of tangible way. That's kind of where we're at. So if you get one thing out of an administration, you should be pleased and happy that we at least did that thing.
Yeah, take your little breadcrumbs or whatever. But also even if he were to do this little 10,000 thing, it doesn't really address the issue of a point that you brought up earlier, the neglecting rates of college enrollment.
Yeah.
And the increasement of college dropouts at the same time. And some of that is actually just due to cost.
Yeah,
so
there's plenty of people who said they never finished their degree because of cost. It's just they just didn't have the money, or they get it. And because here's another issue that we run into is that, okay, all right, so in order to have these specific types of jobs you want, there's a entry barrier that you must have some type of degree. And somehow 5 to 6 years of experience, I don't know how you're going to get it, but you got to figure that part out. But then there's no guaranteed job once you graduate. You now have to then convince an employer to allow you on, and they're already going to lowball you once you get in there, and you then amounted all this debt. So now you're beholden to this company or whoever picks you up. It's a never endless cycle, pretty much. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't go to college. We need certain professionals, but we also need to change how it operates within the confines of our economy. We've never addressed that part. So now you got people who are either A, I'm dropping out because, well, it costs too much. I don't want to be debt burdened. And then there's also, fuck it, I ain't getting a job anyway, so I might as well just figure some other stuff out.
Yeah. See, one of the impediments actually for people getting into college is cost. And for some of those people who try to argue, well, you have all kind of options and all that. You have scholarships, you have Pell Grants.
Oh, that's
you have student
right.
loans.
Market solutions, baby. I forgot. My bad.
Yeah. And to the people who might be listening to this thinking like, oh my God, these fucking like left is so fucking extreme or whatever. Like, look here. First of all, me as a person who has had a scholarship, I went into it having a scholarship, and think about all the other people in my college who did not. I was actually extremely lucky to get a scholarship on one of my semesters. And then furthermore, Pell Grants, not everybody can get a Pell Grant. That's just the way that the system works.
Like on average, if you are under a certain income, then you can get a Pell Grant. If they do have some states that have their own grants, like I got the Texas grant, stuff like that, but it's still not enough to cover the entire cost of college because your funding on average is never going to be on par with what the college costs semester by semester. So you always are going to have to either A, hope you can get a scholarship, but then you also think that how many people are going for this one scholarship?
Yeah, these various scholarships, which, I mean, there's never going to be enough scholarships to go. I mean, scholarships are basically there to supplement an already deprecated system. It's basically a glorified charity program.
That's it.
Like,
it just literally picks it. It's literally Red Cross for education. That's it.
And there's not enough funding to go around. There's enough funding to fund our military. There's not enough funding to fund something that my parents still to this day, going back to a conversation I had with my mom 2 weeks ago, still to this day would say, you got to go to college and build yourself. And I had to tell my mom, I said, Mom, first of all, a degree does not guarantee whether or not you're going to get a job. That's point one. Point two, even if, to my earlier point about some of those people who think we're just extreme leftists or whatever, you have all these opportunities, federal loans. Okay, you have to pay those federal loans back at some point in time. So that's not something you can get in right now. That is the market-based solution or the accessibility of liberalism coming into play. We'll make school more accessible by couching you with thousands of dollars in debt, and you're going to pay it back eventually someday. Now, as far as job placement, hey, that's up to you. You have to figure it out. Or for some people, they'll say, well, you have to scout out the market and see what jobs have the most lucrative opportunities for you or whatever. You don't have to go to work to be a driver or some shit, even though technically you don't have to actually do that.
No, but yeah, sure, because those things never change just abruptly. Yeah, that's fine. But even then, it's not a leftist take to say that school should be affordable or mostly free because we've done it before. It's called World War II. We made when we got, or actually not World War, the space race. We made college mostly inexpensive because we wanted to beat the USSR to space. So we had to get people trained to be able to do that thing. School didn't start jumping up in price until other people started getting the 1970s, when you started getting black folks, women, black women, and other people. Then all of a sudden they started learning more things, and they also had the ability to protest. and they became radicals. And we're like, oh, I can't remember the name of the one guy. I have to find the quote, but he said, "Oh, we are educating the educating the proletariat. We have to be careful on who we educate." I'm gonna find that quote later. Definitely, I'm gonna give y'all a name. You can look it up yourself. So then, therefore, college started becoming a little bit more pricier year after year after year. Like, you could look at how quickly the percentage of cost has driven up since the 80s until now.
Yeah, and people have lots of speculation on why cost of college actually has gone up. Look, and you can say administrative costs. You can say, maybe it's advertisements. There's a lot of different reasons why, but this $10,000 measure and that he's holding in his back pocket until later. And, of course, people are going to be like, yeah, thank you. That's good or whatever, including me. I have student debt. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but what's going to happen after the fact? You had within your Build Back Better 2-year tuition-free college, which could have been a stepping stone on your way to actually addressing some of these issues with rising cost and with dealing with higher education. But you just basically gave in and just saying, well, I'm just going to negotiate with Manchin, and you basically negotiated yourself into the fucking corner.
Yeah.
And then at this point, like, really all you see is random articles. Oh, is Build Back Better back or whatever? It's like, even if it's back, you've basically stripped out all the most popular things in there, and it's basically a shell of its former self.
Yeah,
and
you're gonna get one thing or another. So, do you want free college or do you want free childcare? Both are important, but you can only have one. And then, of course, we're probably going to means test the crap out of both of them. So most likely, no one's going to get it at the end of the day. Hold on. I did find that quote. All right. So specifically, Roger Freeman, who was Ronnie Reagan, everybody's favorite Ronald's advisor when he was, I think he was a governor of California. All right. We are in danger of producing an educated proletariat. That's dynamite. We have to be selective on who we allow to go through higher education. End quote. But anyway, that tells you everything you need to know. And yes, another also issue that happened with high rising costs was cutting federal funding and state funding for education. So there you go.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But also the same article also points out, additionally, 46% of respondents also said they would be likelier to go to the polls if Biden were to cancel $50,000 in student debt for every federal borrower, an amount that many progressive lawmakers has been pushing for.
Yeah, so, that's the only time I hear Liz's name. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, she's been mostly absent or whatever. Now, also speaking on Warren, she should actually be one of the most vociferous supporters of Biden's billionaire tax. She had her own form of a wealth tax. This is kind of sort of the same thing. It's revised a little bit, and they're just basically calling it the billionaire tax or whatever. I don't know. Me personally, I think billionaires shouldn't exist. I'll tax the fuck out every last one of y'all.
Yeah, definitely.
Once you get to that,
hey, man,
100% across the board.
Yep. I was going to say 95, but yeah, that's close to it, because we're getting to the point where it's ridiculous now. You don't need that much. Sorry. I know people are going to hate hearing that, but hey, that's the reality.
Now, I don't know the title that you gave Joe Manchin earlier, but we're talking about your boy Joe Manchin. Whatever you want to call him. You want to call him a senator? You want to call him a king? You want to call him a president?
Everybody's favorite Joe.
Yeah, the nigga who, like, everybody and their mama just basically put up as the moderate Democrat. Although there are some people now starting to realize that, moderate Democrats are actually kind of not really moderate. They're just
conservative
Republicans.
Yeah, like I'm actually surprised. I can't remember which article. It was one of those articles. They actually called him the conservative Democrat. I said, oh, they're finally using the term, even though corrupt is better. But hey, that's fine. We're baby steps.
Business Insider, as it points out, actually another one from Insider. Senator Joe Manchin, President Joe Manchin, poured cold water on President Joe Biden's new billionaire tax plan dealing a fatal blow to his prospects in Congress. The wealthiest Americans shouldn't be taxed on things. This is quote what he just said, on things you don't have. He said to the Bloomberg, you might have it on paper. There are other ways to pay for people to pay their fair share, and I think everyone should pay. So I'm kind of with. I already felt this way, but I'm actually already with Bernie Sanders on that one when he responded like, I really just don't give a fuck like what the fuck he got to say, because like you think everybody should pay their fair share and everyone should pay. Okay, so you don't want. So he does not want items such as stocks tacked on, unrealized gains.
Yeah.
To be taxed, even though it is a sense or source of wealth that is actually used. So I wasn't really getting his argument here, because in a one way I was thinking about it and I was like, well, they don't really have it, so why would you really tax it? But then like, are you and I know this is not what he's saying, but it was I almost just got the feeling like, so are you trying to say that there's no worth to these? Then why do they have these investments? There's obviously something there. There's obviously something there.
Exactly. Obviously, it's some form of wealth that's accumulated. Just because you can't put it into real dollars. Okay, how about this? Because their whole process is to buy, borrow, die. They only leave the stocks to borrow against. So anytime they borrow against any of their stocks, or whatever amount, that's 30%. How about that? There's other, like you said, there's other ways we could do it. So if you borrow money, we're taking 30 off top.
Yep. Every time you purchase a stock, I'm taxing that.
Yep. Every time
you take it out, I'm taxing that.
Yeah. And look, why is there not? We're going to put a sales tax on it. There, you got a sales tax when you go buy things at the store, right? Fine, we'll put a sales tax on stocks.
Yeah, but I mean, he offers no solutions here. It like talks about like you can't tax something that they haven't really earned. Like, okay, so earned. So when we were talking about $15 an hour or minimum wage, increasing the minimum wage over there, which is like largely a popular issue, no matter whether or not you talk about Republican or Democrat, independent, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where is your sense of earned in that regard? Or let's talk about your legislative history.
No, see, if we give them that, they're just entitled.
Well, let's also talk about his legislative history. As the owner, even though he claims that he's not.
It's a blind trust, sir. Don't you besmirch President Manchin's name on here, this podcast here.
While we here on this podcast do not endorse violence in any sort, we do not endorse kicking him. We don't endorse slapping him. We don't endorse setting anything on. Well, I won't. No, let me take that back. Because the implications of this, we don't endorse any type of violence. But if anything happens, I'll be like, damn, that sucks. Nah, for real, dog. Like, nah, we don't endorse it. Although, like, if somebody was just like straight up like swang on his ass, I'm like, oh, damn.
Look, I remember.
Anyway,
hey, look, I'm for real because I remember I read a story or see the story about. I think it was it Teddy Roosevelt? Yeah, old Teddy used to do like underground fight clubs at the White House, and I was like, man, we need to bring that back. Somebody need to bring Joe Manchin in the back and say, hey, look. Come see me real quick. We can do some quick negotiations. But anyways, that's wishful thinking. But go ahead.
yeah. Just let them go and fight it out. Just fight it out amongst themselves. So this dude's legislative history is just racked full of him showing favoritism to the fact that he actually is a coal baron, the company that he actually owns. And it's really striking how he always talks about earned, but he's routinely has used his position of authority immediately after nixing the Build Back Better, all of a sudden he gets a shit ton of Republican donors. So how do you square that with the fact that he talks about like earned exactly? So after he killed Big Back Better, he basically, what did he earn all those millions of dollars? Billionaire Ken Lagone donated to Joe Manchin's PAC after the senator opposed Build Back Better Act.
Yeah,
and like they go for like very, very fucking cheap. The investor and his wife each contributed $5,000 to Joe Manchin's leadership PAC. And then it's like you guys go for so fucking cheap at this point.
Yeah, like literally getting a couple $1,000s here and there. Like, this is what it's worth? Like, seriously, to derail democracy is worth $2,000. Of course, I know it's a little bit. I think they'll get something like 100,000 or something like that. It's like, really though? That's it? That's what you're doing this over. But yeah, anybody who's really interested in Joe Manchin's background, go read The Intercept's op-ed on him, titled Joe Manchin's Dirty Empire. It goes over his whole history about being in West Virginia and how he got into coal mining as a business, and he was basically selling the lowest refined coal, which is one, more expensive to refine and doesn't have good energy output. And at one point, I want to say like West Virginia voted against like giving him like tax breaks or something like that. But as soon as he became governor, he give him everything because he was also making money off of that. So it's like, okay, he started early with his corruption.
Yeah, and putting aside the little $5,000, basically $10,000 for the entire
That's crazy,
household.
Man. That's crazy.
But then also another political action committee, Country Roads, that also is affiliated with Joe Manchin. All of a sudden, their campaign donations rose to over 150,000. I'm sorry, it did rise over $150,000 in December, more than November, and that's around the time, coincidentally, Build Back Better was effectively dead.
Yep.
So just basically, I don't know who actually said this, but just follow the money, and you'll start seeing where people's interests lie. It's all about the money when it comes to Joe Manchin, which is a lot of niggas just like at this point they need to just start calling about, bro, this nigga's corrupt as fuck.
I mean, but this is also why everybody's been clamoring about campaign finance laws and redefining those, or just figuring out how to remove that arm, because basically corporations and those with the money have been able to just buy politicians. And this is an age-old trope. It's always in every old like Western or old sci-fi, or some corrupt politician that was bought off by XYZ person or corporation. That's right there is part of the reason that actually needs to stop itself, because now the question is how do you get that to happen? Because these are also the same people who have to vote on it. So like literally the same people who you're asking to govern themselves, they are required to do it. It's like, that's not going to happen. That's the issue we're in right now, though.
Yeah, and staying on the topic of Joe Manchin, but we're also going to include another person, Kirsten Sinema. There was also another story. So we're still we're in year 2 of the Biden administration right now.
Year 2 and what, 2 months roughly?
Yeah, something about that. Yeah. We had a candidate who was a nomination for the Labor Department. His nomination, Mr. David Will, was voted down. And you want to guess who the people were who voted down advancing his nomination and what their reasons are? Well,
Bernie Sanders.
Yes. Very anti-labor. Yes. I guess I don't know. Throw in Warren. Nah, fuck that. Nah. But nah. She's alright. But anyway, Manchin, Kirsten Sinema,
Uh-huh.
and Mark Kelly
Yeah.
voted against allowing David Will nomination to move forward.
Of course.
So go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
It's just like clockwork. It's like it's not even news anymore. It's like with anything that could potentially be okay. I'm not even gonna say good, but just okay. Hear these people peek out and say, "Hey, do I smell happy? Potentially? Nope. Kill that. Dead it right now." And it's just it's like a running joke now. It's like one. This kind of also shows Joe Biden's. I ain't gonna say weakness, his complacency and all this. I don't think he cares. He's like, screw it. I have a scapegoat. I got these two people who are running affairs for me because I technically don't want to do anything either. At least that's how it comes off. I'm an old school, neo-lib, third wave politician. I don't want to do this stuff. I just want things to go back to the way they were before DT got in office. But unfortunately, the political climate is shifting a little bit and they don't know what to do. That's the problem. It's shifting far to the right, and you even have some leftist movements here. And right now, neo-libs don't know how to govern that.
Nope, not at all. I mean, they're too closely aligned with them, at least as far as their politics are concerned. But for the people who are wondering, who the fuck is David Will? I'm going to scroll down, and we're going to actually get straight into the nitty-gritty. This is from Common Dreams. Will led the Wage and Hour Division for 2 years under former President Barack Obama and had Manchin's support when he was nominated for the job in 2014, and he now serves as a dean in Brandeis University. Despite previously backing Will, Manchin expressed late last year that he had doubts about the academic's nomination. On Thursday, he claimed he was concerned that Will would enact policies that will harm businesses. So,
which policies, sir?
Yeah, and you're right. And we're going to go ahead and go straight to the quote. Actually, for what he claimed, quote, "I thought David Will is just against small businesses in West Virginia. Everything I have is franchisees and small businesses, and he has been very, very outspoken about their role and how he opposes what they've been doing. It was just too much of a risk to take," end quote.
Okay, I need more. What have they been doing? I'm pretty sure it's something negative that he brought up. So is Joe saying he's okay with that? Because last time I checked, people were just kind of upset with franchisees, as far as most likely that's restaurant related, on how crappy it is to work for them and how they treat their employees. Hell, there was a story here recently about a franchisee who was basically saying that, hey, with gas rising and inflation, we can then pretty much con people into applying for to work for us, and they then are probably going to have to take on another job just to maintain their life. So now we can potentially even lower our wages. Yes,
yeah, that's actually
let's
a lot
protect
of the
those people.
That's a lot of the scapegoats that actually a lot of companies use. That's actually largely the reason why, despite the fact the company that I work for, they like to campaign themselves, they like to present themselves to these independent business owners who come over and do business with us and use their name and say, come and start a small business. But in actuality, it's just a roundabout way to just pay them less money, because if we bring them under our umbrella, we got to worry about all these different costs. We got to worry about whether or not we got to give them health care, paid time off, benefits, and all that shit.
Yes. Wait, hold up. Wouldn't Medicare for All actually remove the cost burden from corporations to an extent?
It would. It would
right?
actually
potentially
be very beneficial. But it would also take leverage away from companies being able to hold that over. You see, if you fucking decide that you want to go on a strike or whatever, maybe you decide that you want to quit this company. Hey, I mean, think about it. You have good health care with us or whatever. Oh, man, you asking for a raise? Man, look, man, don't worry about that raise, but look at these benefits, though.
Yeah, wait, are we saying that our current capitalist model is exploitative?
very, very exploitative. I mean, I mean,
the audacity, sir. How
the
dare you?
It's a matter of perspective, sir. It's a matter of perspective. But we will go on to say that after he made that claim, they elaborated that Will is the author of The Fissured Workplace, which examines large corporations that classify workers as subcontractors and rely on franchisees in order to cut costs and avoid responsibility for ensuring fair worker conditions. This is largely kind of also an issue in my workplace. Yeah. He has harshly criticized companies like Uber and Lyft for classifying workers as independent contractors rather than employees, exempting them from the benefits and workplace protections. So
he's named multiple corporations just with that statement alone. I mean, yeah, McDonald's, most of them are franchises. Like restaurants, a lot of them are franchises. Like 7-Elevens, that's how they try to get people into that whole the idea of them owning a small business, which technically you do and don't at the same time, because you're basically just leasing the name of a company that's known.
Yeah, like what? Yeah, that doesn't even make any sense, because like he's saying we got to protect the small businesses. They are small businesses who are under the thumb of a larger corporation. Actually, as a matter of fact, you go into a random McDonald's location and it may be franchised out or whatever. It may be owned by a small business owner or whatever the fuck. But nobody fucking knows that shit. Like, you own the business until you fuck up. Yeah. And then, hey, look, similar to some of the practices in the company that I work for with these small businesses. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're a small business. You do your own thing or whatever. So you're not doing what our contract dictates to you, and you keep fucking up. Well, why don't I just exploit the fact that I am a large corporation and use my power to push you out and get rid of you and basically bring in another person or whatever. I mean, that's basically... It's an oversimplification, but it is actually kind of how it works in our company.
Or we'll make it illegal for you to use our name from here on out. That's literally like how it goes. That's why I think we talked about that before. It's like, what in this day and age, what's considered a small business? I know we'll probably look at like some internet boutique or anything like that, but outside of some boutique style situation, someone who does podcasting or YouTube, or someone who franchises a restaurant, what is considered a small business now? It's not, you don't have the mom and pop grocery store anymore, or the mom and pop basic corner store unless you're in the hood somewhere. You don't get these things anymore. You don't have the local hardware store.
Yeah, like for everybody who's listening to this, like think about how many actual small businesses you really have. I mean, outside of a few random ass restaurants that you may actually find or whatever. And they're like extremely rare. And hell, even in instances where you may think it's a small business, it may actually not. Hell, until like last week, there was a coffee shop that me and Quentin spoke about. And I didn't realize until I actually looked it up that it was actually a fucking franchise. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, it's a new business. It looks it looks pretty cool. Oh shit, it's actually a franchise.
Yeah, it's a regional franchise. It's like, oh yeah, they're all in the region. So it's like the idea of the small business pretty much has been killed on the stake with corporations, because they can't, just like corporations and the private sector can rarely, if ever, compete with the public sector, small businesses cannot compete with corporations because they can afford to lose certain amounts. Because I even talked about that with, I think, Amazon. So, for instance, Amazon squeezes out small businesses. So if you are a person on Amazon and you're selling your wares on there, and Amazon can come in and say, hey, your stuff is selling fairly well and fairly frequently, we want to buy that from you. And if you say, nah, I'm good, dog, I want to keep all this, then Amazon can basically make a similar model to yours, sell it for half the cost, and just pretty much squeeze you out. They can afford to lose it. It's like, oh yeah, we can lose X amount of dollars on this one item, but you can't. So now what?
I mean, if you think about the absurdity of Manchin's comments and his positions, I mean, he was against raising the minimum wage.
Yep.
Um,
He's
and
against
now he's talking.
the child tax credit. That's you don't want to do that either.
He was also against the PRO Act.
Yeah.
So it's becoming abundantly clear that Manchin's framework of where he operates from, when it comes to government dictates as far as increased worker protections, which directly intersect with unions, which actually the whole point of the union actually to begin with. I mean, not to say that unions don't have their cons every so often, but
Yeah, that's fair.
that is primarily what the union is actually for. So he was against the minimum wage. He's against worker protections. He's against taxing, but he's okay with what he calls as small businesses masquerading under the image of a bigger corporation, and those corporations dictating to you what your worker conditions are and what your pay is exactly. So it almost flies in the face of the Democrats, the disarray in Democrats, and why Democrats generally have a problem governing whenever they get into power, is that you have fucking niggas like Kirsten Sinema, Manchin, and Mark Kelly in your party. You can't say you're pro-worker, you're all about the unions and all that shit, when you got these motherfuckers directly standing in your way, using all these bullshit mealy-mouthed, oh man, you know, they're gonna put us at risk or whatever, these small businesses. First of all, bro, like, your definition of small businesses is them masquerading under big businesses. And then also, if you're solely relying upon the fact that, I mean, your state, one of the poorest states actually out there as of right now, those big corporations that you're closely aligning with right now, they're not really doing much of anything to like pull people out of poverty. In part, they're actually creating the state the state of affairs that your state is in as it is right now. But it does not seem like he actually cares about that, because his intentions appear to be he's very, very much pro-corporation. He is within that tax bracket of people who look down on people like that.
Yeah, he's doing your typical neo-lib shuffle of austerity, where, again, he was also claiming, oh, yeah, I'm against raising the deficit for any reason, for blah, 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 which is his argument against Build Back Better, even though the bill that he introduced actually raised the deficit. Oops.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because it went to corporations. Just like tax cuts raised the deficit. Where do you think the money has to go? Do you think, like, this is a funny thing, it's like they always want to tell people they don't know how money works, but it's like if you cut taxes, though, that it's not like that money doesn't have to come from somewhere to fund the government, so it trickles down to the middle class and on forth. So it's just so weird that, and it's not really weird because, again, we've gotten to this point ever since the 1970s that government can't interfere. Like, we've gotten back to that point where the only way government can intervene is if it's a contract dispute between individuals. But your government cannot do what it did during the post Great Depression with like the New Deal and stuff like that. That was too much government. We can't do that because with too much government, I, as a corporation, can't really compete with that. So please stop doing that stuff that you do, sir. Please and thank you.
And like, not to solely focused on just Manchin, but also we have organizations that are going out of their way, the Americans for Tax Reform, that are lobbying people like Manchin, Sinema, and Kelly. If we go to a quote actually from the Americans for Tax Reform, it said, quote, if confirmed, Will would use his power to implement the Anti-Worker PRO Act by executive fiat. ATR told Kelly and Sinema, referring to the legislation that would protect workers' right to organize their workplaces. So it's not just him. It's these other two as well. Yeah. But then also, I don't want to put that all on
and
just...
it may be more. They're just the ones we know about. They are just the ones running the interference and willing to take the heat. Manson's already taking the
Well,
heat,
Cinema,
so why not?
Yeah, Cinema already snitched them out. She said, yeah, there's a lot of niggas hiding under her skirt and shit, like hiding behind her, and they're just basically using them. And so it's this thing that, and I, as much as going back to way earlier in the show when I brought up Bernie Sanders, and how he just said, I don't give a fuck about what Joe Manchin got to say. I also have to say, we're kind of past that point, and now we got to start turning our sights to Biden and saying, yo, look, bro, like you and Obama with that bullshit, like, oh, well, no, we ain't get you everything you want, but, we're still the best you got.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't. If life already sucks, we might as well just watch the shit burn. Like, if you get someone, if you already are terrible, and if someone else equally terrible comes up, but they're at least entertaining, then fuck it. Why not? Let's do it. And that's the funny thing. Is like, you're not much better. You're polite. You have, oh, my bad. You're more polite in your tactics.
You're poised. Yeah.
You have decorum. This other person was just this person's a hillbilly or a Yank. They don't represent what America is. It's like, yes, it does. They are super America. So it's just Dems are either one of the two parties are eventually going to get wiped out and go to pretty much going to become extinct, because now I know when it comes to the extreme right, unfortunately they have a home. That's the problem, is that Republicans have pretty much allowed these people in with open arms, because and even people within their party ranks are falling in line with the extreme absurdity of like the extreme right. But when it comes to anyone marginally left, and I don't even really consider the policies that are presented as left, they're super moderate. But even those are shot down at any, at every pass. So that's kind of the issue we're also running to, is that if you are marginally on the left, you really don't have a place to go at all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and for some people, you don't necessarily need to like just look at it as like a left or a right issue sometimes.
No, not always.
There are some instances where like just go poll for poll and you can actually just see where people are at and then just follow that. But hell, you even have a hard time actually even getting people to just follow the polls or whatever. It's just like this weird thing about just our senators just like advocating against the best interest of the American people while simultaneously saying that I'm working in the best interest of the American people. Joe Manchin was a big proponent of that.
Yeah,
hiding behind.
I'm a West Virginia governor. I'm a West Virginia senator. Blah 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 blah. No, motherfucker, you are in the United States Senate. You just happen to represent West Virginia, but you are still mostly in the U.S. Senate, and that's why. And yeah, if you go poll for poll, a lot of it polls in the positive aspect. That's why I said most of the things that are even being presented, like affordable college, free child care. Because, hey, we want people working, right? We got to put these babies up somewhere. Like, why isn't it a part of K through 12? So these are all moderate centrist views.
It's like, yeah, it's right there. It's just right there. And I mean, just like the him just hiding behind that, and then like also like trying to like use his coal miners who also are unionized, until they threw him under the bus and they said, nah, actually we support Build Back Better. What the fuck are you doing? And after that, he quickly shut the fuck up. He was like using the fuck out the coal miners to say, I want to represent the interests of my union. They was like, no, actually, no. Is there a phone call that we missed? Because actually we support it. And she quickly shut the fuck up and didn't say anything at all about the coal miners union. And like, speaking of unions, you brought up a story earlier that you might want to actually elaborate on. Another company.
Oh yeah.
Who is actually thinking about contracting. I'm sorry. They're thinking about unionizing.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to all the worker movements that are going on, because like I think in the last 2 years we've been having a bunch of them, and I'm with it, because from Kellogg's all the way to was it John Deere and all of them. Hey, let's keep it up.
Amazon.
But, yeah. I think they're supposed to be voting on that again
yes.
Okay. Yeah, we got to keep up with that one. But apparently, what was it? A Google Fiber subcontractor. Let's see. What is their name? They are BDS Connection Solutions, who was contracted for Google Fiber, actually decided to vote to unionize. Hey, that's fair, right? That's within the bounds of their rights. Yeah. However, they did send Google sent a little consultant down just to talk to him, just kind of go over the process and things like that, or just give his critiques. And one of the questions one of the statements he said is, could say that we're not going to do Google Fiber anymore. They're like, what if that happens? And so the unionizers, they were like, oh, are you willing to put that in writing? And then the other one was like, yeah, are you willing to say that if we unionize, we're going to close? And then, of course, the guy backtracked. I had to find the full audio. I heard it on who's it? Left Reckoning, actually. I think they had it up, and we listened to it. But you could tell that the consultant wasn't really prepared to deal with this particular situation, because you could tell that the unionizers were pretty much prepared for everything that he was going to say. The usual spiel of, why do you want a third party coming in? We'll rather work directly with you, the workers, blah, blah, blah. The same old stuff that they always like.
Management is not your friend, people. Let's get past that bullshit about that whole family vibe and all that shit. Look, it's all good and everything that you're nice to folks and all that, give them food and all that shit. But for a lot of workers who may be listening to this, and you can probably relate, start having serious conversations with your boss about a raise, and then see how awkward that shit turns.
Oh shoot! It'd be like if they'll damn near choke on their spit, like, ooh, money.
Oh shit! I got a phone call, staff meeting. Shit, anything.
Or hold up, no, wait. In order to celebrate all the good work you good people have been doing, I've ordered us 10 pizzas. We're having a pizza party. Woohoo!
Oh my god, boy. That shit has not worked on me since elementary school. That's the most disrespectful ass shit I've ever heard.
Wait, we even got your root beer floats. Yay, us, right? Go team.
Yay.
Remember, I have an open door policy, and you could always come to me for anything.
Yeah, and for anybody who's asking, well, those are actually great benefits and all that. Why are you doing that? That's so mean to ask for pay. They have a great work environment. Okay, first of all, a little insider knowledge from a person who, and this is an anecdote, so just take it as you will. Mm-hmm. But a little insider knowledge: I had a direct hand in the hiring with the former company that I used to work for, and also influence over the pay. I also briefly dealt with payroll. One of the things that happens behind the scenes is a lot of companies will throw you these little incentives and shit because it's actually cheaper to actually do it that way. Actually, in part, that's also why some companies offer such great benefits, because in some instances, when you actually look at the bottom line, it's actually cheaper to provide benefits to employees than to actually pay them more.
Yeah, because
that's kind of the shitty way that things actually work.
Because here's the funny thing is, if you look at insurance, they get great insurance. You still have to pay for it. That's the thing. It's it's not free. So, okay, sure, you can say it's cheaper than if you went to the free market yourself, which there's an argument against the free market. But you still, they go and negotiate a cost with these companies, and of course they want the business. So yeah, they'll say, all right, fine, for X amount of dollars, and we'll give you this. Companies cut each other slack all the time. they give each other the cheap, deals versus you, the consumer. Because you, the consumer, don't have as much negotiation powers as the corporation itself. So there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. The power in and of itself is not only in their market share, but also their money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. I mean, you little bitty worker, like, man, get out of that mindset of like, people thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just go over there without a union and I'm gonna negotiate. Um, Look here. First of all, you may have some decent skills, and I don't deny that you do, but you go in there thinking that you can just be big ballsy and just dictate to them however much money you go make. At the end of the day, they're the one who's paying your paycheck or may eventually end up paying your paycheck if you get hired. So they ultimately have all the power in their hands. I mean, it's a big fucking market. Do you really think that you're going to go in there and like you're the thing that they have been looking for, which may be true, but those are few and far between
Yep.
on those specialized skills that it's literally only you. Get out of this individualist mindset, bro. Like we're dealing with multinational corporations now at this point. The concept of small businesses is kind of dead, really.
And I think that has been a big issue when it comes to the fight against labor is the individual. And I'm not saying that you can't be an individual, you don't have independent thought or anything like that, but you can't go fight a battle against a large entity by yourself. Like in no scenario do you come out on top in that.
Yeah, composed of hundreds or thousands of people, and you think you're going to be the thing that like tips it? Like, dude, no. Like your little individualist mindset is working against a collective of people.
It's literally the equivalent of someone who goes to Twitter and says, "I'm never buying Nike again." Nike is, who is this person, and why should we care?
Oh, we're so disheartened that you actually were dissatisfied with our product. Listen, please send us a direct message with your issue. And I mean, really, like, okay,
they really don't care. It just makes them more popular. It's like, because who else are you gonna go to? Like, it's literally, that's kind of how it goes. It's like, it's so people need to really understand their collective power. And I think, well, we talked about this too, and this is kind of, I'll say this on the labor aspect. The challenging part of labor is getting people to understand they're part of the labor force. Like, I'm pretty sure you ran into this. If you were to go talk to other people in your position, they would not view themselves as the lower level worker because they got an office. I know we work for the same company. I got an office. I got a desk. I'm not the same as you person doing the hard labor. So I'm labor, but I'm not. And it's like, no, you're still labor.
Yeah, you're basically all the same. And like this whole like looking down on people or whatever. It's like, yo, yeah, my job is essential. I'm gonna tell you right now, bro. A lot of these people who think that their jobs are essential, nah. I mean, the same disdain that some people look down on, like people like fast food workers and all that shit. Oh my god, just why do they need to get paid $15 an hour and all that shit? Their job's not that hard. Yeah. And I remember a coworker saying this shit out loud 2 years ago, and I'm thinking like, yeah. Also, that's how. And this is me thinking this. That's also how I feel about your job. Your job really isn't all that essential. So the whole time you're looking down on them, you realize eventually you could also become that person at the bottom of the totem pole. I mean, case in point. I mean, just for a long time, we were always told nursing was just a way to go. They get paid absurdly high or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's not as true as it used to be really anymore.
No,
I mean some of these nurses are getting paid absolute garbage for the fucking shit, especially under the pandemic. Oh God.
Oh yeah, it sucks. Now I have my theories on why that is. I mean, that's This is also another thing that comes into labor is who's doing the labor. This is a direct correlation that you can pull when it comes to data on the lowest paid jobs and the gender gap. So, those jobs fall into a lines of what would be more nurturing, and yes, nursing falls into that. Yes, there are men who do nursing, but the large majority is women. And yeah, out of school they get paid more than most, but they also cap fairly fast. Unless they decide to go for more education, which means more debt in a lot of cases as well. So there you go. It's like it all comes full circle. It's like it, but you also see when it comes to those unions, two most hated unions are nursing unions and teachers unions. But nobody got beef with police unions, huh? Though that's kind of strange.
Well, I think public sentiment is starting to shift a little bit on that. But yeah. But going back to your like earlier point about like individualism, I had a conversation with a friend of mine. This was about maybe 2 years ago. Son of an immigrant. The demographic that some people on the Republican side like to say, like, oh, the Democrats are like. The Democrats are bringing all these immigrants over. That's like,
Oh God!
And they're gonna be changing the demographics and they're turning them into Democrats. Like,
Ah,
yeah, first of all, if you talk to some of these immigrants, you'll learn that they're actually conservative as shit.
a lot of
Like,
them.
Good friend of mine. I disagree with his politics a little bit, but I told him my issue with this thing that Americans have of like hyper individualism, and the point that I wanted to get across to him was there is a lot that yes, the collectivist mindset can be kind of like daunting for a lot of people to get over or whatever, because like, oh man, I want my freedom, I want my choices and all that. But there are some things that you don't realize that you actually through a collectivist mindset are already doing. And the only reason why you're able to accomplish those individual tasks is because you're operating out of a collectivist framework, i.e., some extremist would argue that, well, why do I need a healthcare plan or whatever? I can just go and pay for that at the doctor. Like, first of all, no, like if literally everybody just decided to defund and go pay for the doctors themselves, that would actually create a disastrous predicament. There would be actually healthcare costs would actually rise under that situation, which is in part why you have insurance companies. That's why you have insurance companies. Or you go into a company thinking you can negotiate your way because, like, oh man, I don't need a union. I can go over there and negotiate myself. Yeah, yeah. Go over there and do that. Don't forget that these niggas have like an army of lobbyists, lawyers, managers, employees in a big market full of people who are like desperate for jobs. And you think you solely are going to go over there and do everything? Very unlikely. Or in a workplace setting, you can't, there's only so much that you can accomplish on your own before you say you have to bring in somebody to come and help you, which in part is why Joe Manchin and folks like him are actually very, very wrong about his disdain for workers and how he doesn't like to tax the rich and all that shit and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
The reason why they got so rich is because of his workers. That's the only way that they got so rich. There is no such thing as the self-made billionaire or millionaire or whatever the fuck. Like that shit's dead. What the fuck does that even mean?
That means I usually grew up in some type of wealthy family, and my dad was owned an emerald mine, and he then kicked me some cash in order to start some of my business ventures or sent me to school. And never mind, that sounds familiar. Okay, no, I had an idea, and then all of us, I was working out of my garage, but then my parents gave me like 200 something thousand to get started. Oh shoot, that's another story too. I don't know.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, it's like, man, look, just man, look. You can still accomplish your individual goals under a collectivist framework. Actually, you working as a collective actually benefits you as the individual to be able to do things. The ultimate freedom is you not having to worry about your bills being paid,
Yeah.
or another way to put it is you not having to choose between paying your car note and your electricity, because both are kind of essential. You need transportation, you need some form of transportation, and you can't operate without the fucking electricity being on. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I'll just, for all my sports fans out there, you win games by working together as a unit. You have a common goal and you have a plan to reach said goal. We also do more, we've done more historically as a species with cooperation than direct competition. Not saying that you can't compete friendly, but if you look at the next person in line with you as your competition and I must step over this person, you're kind of playing into the hands of anti-labor. So, just keep that in mind. And, yeah, man, I mean, not saying you can't be an individual, sure, but we also must learn how to share with each other and cooperate with one another for a better future. Sounds super preachy, but God damn it, that's how I had to put it.
We're going to spread the good word of the Lord here today, and we're going to close out this Sunday session.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah to the man up above. I hate everybody.
All right, we out.